I gotta be honest with you. I really hate trying to do some research on the internet about certain topics. One of those topics being is televisions, because when I was doing the research myself for the best TV to get for my PS5 or Series X, right? These brand new consoles we're all getting more features than ever before being packed in, right? They're basically mini PCs or compact little smashed down PCs, and that's fantastic. That's great, super cool for anyone jumping, into the next gen and stuff. But the problem is now we have this huge rabbit hole of what TV is best for what system. And I hate it, because when you do your research, when you go to websites like CNET, Consumer Reports, any of these companies that will try to tell you what the best TV is, they give you all this information, these numbers, these statistics that mean absolutely nothing. Because one, first and foremost, the visual quality of a display is all subjective. So I think it's more important to look at specifically, right? If you're looking to get a new TV or even a gaming monitor or something like that for your console, let me give you some more realistic metrics to look at and ways to really find the best display for you. So before we get into that, I would like to ask you to like the video. I would really enjoy if you did that for me. I'm a small YouTuber. It helps me out a ton. Just get a little like, helps the algorithm push my video up. And we just hit 1,000 subscribers. So we are growing. And if you want to be a part of that, you know what to do. Click that button. And just letting you know that I do live stream every Friday. So we talk about news and just, topic, chit chat, play some games together. So if that's something you're interested in or want to be a part of, then by all means, I'm more than happy to have you join. On top of that, I do upload a video every Monday. I am starting to try to upload a video every Wednesday. So pushing twice a week, but either way, you do get content weekly. With that said, let's go ahead and get back to the topic. Now, when it comes to my personal decision on what displays I bought a 2020, it's a couple years old now, but I bought a TCL 6 series Roku TV. And the reason I bought this TV specifically was because I was looking at the consoles I was playing and the kind of games I'll be playing, because that's really what matters more than just having a TV that does it all. Because those TVs that do it all, and the better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it kind of mentality, you're going to be spending a lot of money on that. And I don't think there's a reason to spend anything more than about $1,000 on a TV. I think anything beyond that is just absurd, unless you, again, are just a PC gamer or really into movies or whatever the heck it may be. But if you're just looking for a new TV to play your game on, looking to upgrade that old TV from 5-10 years ago, just calm down. Let's take a breath and let's work through the different things that matter. So for me, I think the first thing you need to really look into is the room you're going to be playing in. And my situation is I have a living room with a big glass door, kind of like my bedroom here. The light I'm using is from the outside. And I have a big patio door that brings in a lot of light. So I knew right then and there that a TV like an OLED display wasn't going to matter too much for me. It wasn't going to be super beneficial, just because if I'm playing a game in the middle of the day, terrible is going to get washed out real quick, right? Because OLED displays typically don't get the brightest. They've gotten a lot better for sure, but again, those are the TVs that are going to be thousands of dollars, so I think it's to be more realistic was to look into a different display technology, and that I chose to go with mini LED. Mini LED has all the benefits of OLED, well, at least most of them. You get pretty good colors, pretty good vibrant colors. It has a vivid mode most of the time, which really looks almost as good as a Switch OLED display. So if you like the way that looks, my TV specifically that I bought, and many other mini LEDs with a vivid mode will give you those kind of vibrant colors, but with the added benefit of getting really bright. There's a lot of different technologies and different methods to determine this, right? We have dimming zones, we have contrast, we have nits, all that sort of stuff. But to keep it very simple, all you need to worry about is just, does the TV get really bright, right? Yes or no, and if that matters to you. Because if you're playing primarily in a bedroom with maybe one window that you keep shut all the time, or a basement or a game room or something like that, then the brightness doesn't matter. It just focus on more important things besides the brightness, which I think is more important based on display technology than it is the overall nits that the TV can produce. I think another important aspect of looking into a TV is the gaming features specifically. These consoles nowadays, the PS5, the Series X, they support technologies such as free FreeSync. They offer support for low latency modes. So if you buy a TV that has a game mode, which can drop the response time, which is basically how quickly the TV will display an input from when you press A, for example. The second you press A, the amount of time it takes to show that action on the TV is your response time. Now, some of the higher end gaming monitors and really expensive TVs can support, up to 1 millisecond of response time. Some of them, more realistically, are somewhere between 2 to 3 milliseconds of response time, which is still very fast. My TV specifically offers, I think it's about 2 or 3 milliseconds of response time, and that is perfect for a lot of games that are, single player, even some light competitive stuff like Fortnite or Warzone. But if you are really competitive and looking for those response times, that's when maybe a gaming monitor will be the way, just because you will get that 1 millisecond response time. Another thing to look at ultimately is refresh rate, and this is a tricky one because on the boxes of these consoles they tell you 4K, 120 hertz, and that's fantastic, but the reality is very few games will give you 4K and 120 hertz, and people will spend $2,000-$3,000 on a TV that has HDMI 2.1, which allows you to game at 4K and have 120 hertz at the same time, but very few games support it. I think Xbox has the most support with about 100 titles, which is really cool, but at the end of the day, those titles are probably not games that you're really going to be playing a ton, and we see more and more every day. The new releases that are coming out, they're running 4K 30. At best, you can maybe do a 1440p upscale to 4K in like 60 FPS targeted, so it's not even a locked frame rate. Like, it's pushing, it's trying to stick to 60, but it drops sometimes. So I think what we're noticing here is, yes, these consoles are capable, but when a developer gets a more capable console, they're not immediately thinking of making the same level of games at higher refresh rates or higher resolutions. They're thinking of, how can I utilize the technology to make bigger, better games? How can I add more grass and trees to the landscape? How can I add more people in the city, right? How can I utilize the technology here? So what we're getting is a gaming experience that's similar in performance to older consoles, right? The PS4, Xbox One, but we're getting it in higher density. We're getting it in better graphics. And that's the most important thing to keep note of, is graphics is very different from resolution and obviously frame rate. What matters more when it comes to the overall quality of the image you're looking at is your graphics and, of course, resolution. If you're looking at a 720p display and the graphics are trying to push something that won't look good in that resolution, yeah, it's going to look like a bad picture. But most of these games are targeting typically an upscaled 4K at best, running at best, again, a targeted 60 frames a second. Some recent examples are going to be things like God of War Ragnarok, Hogwarts Legacy, Starfield coming out soon. These titles, they do have performance versus fidelity modes, and that's the key difference, is most games that come out give you the option between the two. You have to choose between a fidelity mode or a performance mode, and more often than not, that performance mode is nothing more than just saying, we're going to drop the resolution, and in some instances, there are games that drop a lot more than just the resolution, right? They drop the, again, density of the population in a city. They drop the amount of leaves or grass that, show up, or different things like that. They'll drop even further to hit a higher frame rate, versus, the resolution where you're going to get as much of the game as possible. So depending on the games you're playing, I think that is something that you need to really look more into, and that will help determine the kind of TV you should get, or maybe a gaming monitor. Again, if you're playing a lot of more competitive games, there are games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex Legends. These can hit 120 frames a second, but most of them will do it at 1080p or maybe 1440p. So a monitor that's 1440p resolution at 144 hertz or so. It's really hard to find a 120 hertz monitor, but you can do like 144 hertz, and that'll be perfect. And those run you usually about $300 to $400 for some name brand ones. You can find cheaper stuff, of course. And with the TVs, I think it's more important to get a solid 4K 60 panel that has good brightness, right, for your situation, and more specifically focus on those gaming features. HDR is nice and all, but that is not detrimental to the gaming experience compared to all the other factors that you have to consider. And especially because the most important thing about HDR is the consoles specifically are using very, very, how should I say, budget versions of these HDR technologies. Even the Dolby Vision that comes on Series X and Series S is very lacking, I guess you could say, in comparison to what some movies utilize or even gaming PCs. Don't get hung up too much on the HDR, the nits, the brightness, the dimming zones, this, that, and the other. Just get a TV that first off is in your budget. That's the most important thing. If you can afford a $2,000-$3,000 TV with all the bells and whistles, go for it. More power to you. But most of us can't. And most of us are looking to just get the best out of what we have. And that is why I think, if I'm going to recommend some brands, which I will do here now that we're near the end of the video, I think TCL and Hisense have been doing really good jobs lately. I really think they've been hitting the mark. They give you the things that matter the most. They touch on the things that you might also want, but they're mostly hitting those price points. I spent roughly $800 to $900 on my TCL 6 series that I have, and that was after I bought some Vizio from Walmart, and then I went to Best Buy and bought a $1,300 LG OLED TV and all that stuff with all the bells and whistles that was recommended to me by by the Best Buy employee. But I got home, set it up, did all that, opened my window, turned on the game, and it looked terrible just because the glare, the OLED display was not doing so hot under those lighting conditions, but again, for the most of us, I think the Hisense, the TCLs, those are doing great. Cheaper Samsung TVs are good, but you have to be careful because those Samsungs, the money's going into the name brand. I would rather buy a non-name brand TV that has more premium bells and whistles versus a name brand TV just because, it is a Samsung, but it's a low-end Samsung TV, right? It says 4K, but the user interface, the chip that's in these TVs, that's another thing you got to think about. Is TVs nowadays, there are little computers in them now, and if those computers are dated to begin with, that TV is not going to last you very long in the long run. You don't need to focus on all the statistics and the numbers and this, that, and the other. Ignore all that. Go to Best Buy, go to Walmart, go to Target, or just look up some reviews on websites, right? Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, Target, whatever. You can go to their websites and just look up reviews, and you can probably get solid reviews from people who are already using those displays for the Xbox, the PS5, even the Nintendo Switch. So hopefully this helped out somebody. Thanks for watching. It really helps me out. Again, drop a like if you gained anything from this video. Subscribe, help the channel continue growing. I would love to be able to do this full time. So, help me out with that. Again, upload weekly. I stream every Friday. Hopefully you want to be a part of that, and I'll catch you in the next one.